Hi there. I'm Tim Clairmont. Welcome to Clear Money Talk, where we turn complex financial topics into clear, practical insights.
I'm Tyler Andrews. Welcome to the show. We got another fun one for all you listeners today. Tim, you ready for the topic?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, today we're talking about what financial moves should you make before age 40? Okay. So turning 40 is not a financial deadline, it's a meaningful checkpoint. So by that point, many people have jobs, families, mortgages, growing incomes, and more responsibilities than ever. And the earlier years matter because small decisions can compound for better or worse. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about what are those minimum things that somebody should be thinking about doing before they hit that age 40. What do they call it? Over the hill at age 40?
Oh man, you're killing me here, Tyler.
That's all right, man.
You're
going to be over
you're under
50.
40. I'm under
So-
40. I'll be by the time you drop this episode, I might be 50 already. I'm coming up on it, here imminently. So
Yeah.
I'm barely hanging on to my 40s with this by the skin of my teeth.
Enjoy the
49
last
right now.
month,
Thanks
bro.
for that, Tyler.
So it's not about having everything figured out by 40, but it's about putting
right.
the key things in place so that you're not building the next phase of your life on a shaky foundation. And I think there's a lot of moments in this podcast coming up. Like, of course, we know that stuff, Tyler, Tim, but I think there's going to be some very key and valuable insights that you'll be able to take away depending on no matter what part of your financial journey that you're at currently.
Yeah, when I think about people's knowledge and understanding of any particular field, whatever that field may be, I visualize Swiss cheese. Everybody has holes, and there's some things that you know that other people don't know about this field, and there's other things that they know that you don't know about this field. And everybody's like their own individual version of Swiss cheese, and so the holes are in different spots. And when we get a chance to share with you these insights, you might say, duh, like Tyler just said, because you already knew that, but somebody else your age may not know that. That's filling in the hole in their Swiss cheese, and then vice versa. So our goal is to make your Swiss cheese cheddar by the end of this podcast, and that's what we'll try to do.
That's right. Yeah. Before age 40,
Yep.
Time is still one of your greatest assets. So if we can help you do some smart stuff before that 40, great. If you're already past 40, I think there's still going to be a lot of valuable takeaways, no matter what age that you might be right now.
That's right.
And remember, age is just a number. It's all about mentality. So if you're 80 but you feel 40, that's great. That's what it's all about. So, Tim, any quick thoughts before I jump into some of the structure, as I love to bring to these podcasts?
Of course, and I always appreciate that, Tyler.
Yeah.
And so the bottom line is some of you might actually be 40 or in your late 30s. This particular topic might have been appealing to you, or your early 40s. You're right around that sweet spot. I think one of the things to hone in on is what Tyler said earlier about this is a checkpoint. It's an important checkpoint. At 40, you are approximately 20 to 25 years away from the average retirement age. Average retirement age somewhere between 60 and 65 in the United States, at least. So you've got about a 20, 25 year ramp to try to get yourself ready. Now, if you intended to retire at 55, for example, and you're trying to prepare for that, you only have a 15-year ramp, which, by the way, is similar to a 50-year-old who says, okay, now I'm ready to start planning for retirement at 65. If you, on the other hand, are in your mid to late 20s or early 30s and just kind of looking ahead and thinking about, what do I have to accomplish by the time I hit 40? The best advice I can give you off the top of my head, if you're still in your late 20s and early 30s, is make sure you're contributing to your retirement plan accounts. Roth IRAs are a phenomenal place to make sure you're maxing and take advantage of the free match dollars if you have a 401k or something like that through your employer. Those are key. If you haven't started yet, and you have about a 30-year runway before you're planning on retiring, then saving at least 10% of your income is a good bare minimum as far as retirement planning. If you have less than 30 years, more like 20 or 25, if you're 40 and you haven't started yet, and you're like, okay, I guess I better get my act together, that's okay. You can still do it, but you're going to need to save even more than 10% of your income. You're going to want to be targeting something more like 15 to 25% of your income if possible and trying to live on what's left if it's your intention to replace your income in retirement. Or you have to reconcile yourself with the fact that you'll likely have a pay cut when you go into retirement and make sure that you have adequate resources in place to decrease the cost of living for yourself once you transition into retirement. Or you may have to postpone your retirement into your late 60s or even early 70s.
Yep. Yeah.
Those are some of the top of my head things.
That's all great. Yeah. Let's jump into some of the core financial moves to cover. The first one, probably pretty obvious to a lot of people, is building real cash reserves. And when I say real, I'm not just meaning a couple $1,000 in your checking account. I mean, if that's what makes you comfortable, then sure. But it's not just about having no structure behind the emergency fund. So a true emergency fund or liquidity cushion, if you will, helps protect against things like layoffs, unexpected home repairs, health issues, family surprises, all these things that naturally come from life, right? The way that life has a way of throwing things at us when we're least expecting it. So having that emergency fund, that those cash reserves established and set up with intentionality behind it is paramount. And then also having cash reserves and having that buffer helps you to then invest with more comfortability, knowing that you have something to fall back on, even if markets are shaky and your nerves are rattled from investing and things. It helps you sleep more soundly at night. So it's like a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, if you will, having that emergency fund there.
Yeah, it's always one of the first things we try to check off the box for our clients to give them peace of mind. And Tyler, you nailed it with the comfort level kind of concept. One of the presentations that we go through with a lot of our new clients when we start working with them is what we call our clock presentation, where we discuss the first, second, third, and fourth money that people touch when they go into retirement. And it's really similar in your current lifestyle. The first part is those income sources you can't do a lot about. The second part is income assets, like the goose that lays the golden eggs. Then you have your liquid assets, your emergency money, which I'll focus on that in a second, and your fund money. And then you have your backup and legacy assets. But at the end of the clock presentation, we go through and we just put everything right in the middle. And the very first thing that we allocate out of the middle, because we've got to decide what's this for. Is it for income source, income assets, fund money, emergency money, liquid assets, or backup and legacy assets? When we put those items in the middle of the board, we said, let's first make sure you're comfortable with your emergency money, because emergency money is subjective. How much money you should have for emergencies. There are a lot of different rules of thumb out there as far as finger in the wind, what's a reasonable amount, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 months, whatever your lifestyle is. At the end of the day, I would argue that a minimum of 3 months of your living expenses is probably the bare minimum that you would need. It'd be better to have a little bit more than that. But having a number in place that you feel comfortable with is the most important thing. So take that 3-month number, whatever that is, that's the true minimum for you, and then inflate it a little bit higher to get to a number where you still feel like, yeah, if I had that in a savings account or a checking account at the bank, I'd feel comfortable. That takes care of your comfort level emergency money. Then you can go ahead and say, okay, now I've got that taken care of, I feel comfortable, I can talk about what to do with the rest of my money and be smarter with it. Is if you don't put that line in the sand, oftentimes we see one of the big mistakes people make is over-saving in a very low-yield account. If you have too much money in a low-yield account, you're losing to inflation every single year when the cost of goods increases.
Nice. Next one here. Eliminate bad debt and get intentional about the rest. So high-interest consumer debts should usually be addressed quickly. It's one of those first things that we talk about typically with new clients as far as building a foundation, building the infrastructure, so that way we can do all the other smart money stuff afterwards. But these things are paramount. Having that emergency fund, as we just talked about, having bad consumer debt paid, and having a strategy in place for tackling that is also extremely paramount with proper financial planning. We've done full-length podcasts on debt. There's the different methods of tackling debt, avalanche method versus snowball method. And it's such a crippling thing that is taking place in so many homes across the world nowadays more than ever. And it can severely suffocate a good financial plan by having that debt just continuing to compound and loom over you. So it's also worth being said that not all debt is created equal. I mean, there are some debts that might be recommended or might be prudent given your broader financial planning situation, but that bad high interest consumer debt that can be crippling to somebody, that's what we're specifically talking about here.
It really does come down to interest rate, and you need a tax equivalent interest rate if you're going to analyze whether the debt interest is deductible or not. I'll set that aside for a moment. Just keep it simple. If the interest is over 10% on your debt, you should pay it off as fast as you can. I mean, if it's 10, 15, 20, 22%, like a lot of credit cards and consumer debt, that's the bad debt we're talking about. And there's just really no scenario where it makes sense to hang on to that as long as possible. You want to get rid of that debt as fast as you can, or refinance it to a lower rate. Now, to make Tyler's point, I have met some people who just think all debt is bad, and they think debt is absolutely horrible and that there's absolutely no reason to have any debt at all. And I don't agree with that. Let me give you this example. Pretend that I was going to loan you money at $1 million at 0% interest, no interest at all. You get $1 million from me, and you can pay it back as slowly as you want. You could take that $1 million and stick it in a savings account at the bank and make 1 or 2% on it, and then you get to keep the interest, and I get nothing because I charged you 0 interest. All I get is my principal back, and you get free interest. that is clearly good debt. Now, I'm not going to loan you money at 0% interest, but there are loans that are at very low interest rates. And so the lower the rate is, the better the debt might be when you consider that, what you could otherwise do with the money. And I would say if you have interest rates that are below 5, you're probably in that pretty good low rate range, as long as you're taking that extra money and earning more than whatever you're paying to borrow. So as long as you earn more than 5 in that example. If you're in the 5 to 10 range, I think you're in the gray area. It depends on comfort level, depends on deductibility, depends on what you're doing with the money. And that's where you start to say, 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other, depending on the person. When you're above 10, it's pretty fundamentally better to pay it off.
There are a few noteworthy money and finance related platforms out there, similar to Clear Money Talk, that will use strong emotions and fear and other things to make you feel that no debt is the right way to do it, or that extreme levels of debt is the only right way to do that. And where we do things differently at Clear Money Talk is we know that there's a time and a place for everything when it comes to proper financial planning, whether that's debt, consumer debt, good strategic debt, all the different aspects of this. There's a place for it. That's why it exists. Now, it might not be right for everybody, but there's always a place for it. So I just wanted to let you know that we always try to take that neutral stance and say, where does this fit into somebody's life? And not try to approach the advice and the recommendations that we're giving to you as listeners from a place of, this is the only way to do it, or if you're doing this and you're not doing this, you're dumb or you're making bad decisions. That's not who we are.
I appreciate that, Tyler. I mean, that's a really good differentiation point. It is sad to me, but unfortunately, everybody's got limited attention, and I value the fact that you're listening to us right now. The way that your attention is grabbed by a lot of other platforms, as Tyler put it, is to make you afraid and to make you feel bad and to make you feel like you did something wrong or you're about to do something wrong. And that's not our intent. Our intent is to educate you so you can make the right decision for yourself. And there is not an easy one-stop shop thing. All debt is bad or all debt is great. You should leverage yourself to the hilt. It is truly gray, and it's subjective to the interest rates and your own feelings and your own comfortability about that. And that's where good advice comes into play.
Yep. Yeah, I thought it felt like it was something necessary to say.
Yeah.
So
no, you're on point.
Yep.
That's right. We've seen that.
Yep, we have, and we'll continue to see it. Next is start serious retirement savings. So, Tim, you already hit on this earlier. By 40, retirement savings should ideally be more than an afterthought. As you get that first job, maybe in your early 20s or maybe even before 20, and you know that you should be saving for retirement in some capacity. Maybe your employer offers a 401k or other type of defined contribution plan similar to that. It's there, you should be contributing to it, but maybe you're going to kick the tires on it a little bit. That maybe is your decision, that's okay. But by the time you get to 40, it should not be an afterthought any longer. And I think the best way to do this is with an example. So I actually prepared an example to show you the power of compound interest.
Nice.
Right? It's the eighth wonder of the world. So we got two investors, investor A and investor B. Investor A starts saving $500 a month at age 25. They do that for 10 years, and then they stop. No more saving. Investor B, they wait until age 35, still saving the same $500 per month every month until they hit age 65. And we're going to assume that both earn 8% annually as far as a rate of return on their money. By age 65, investor A contributed $60,000, but they end up with $787,000 as their present balance at that point in time. Investor B contributed $180,000 total, so more than double the amount as investor A, but they only end up with $745,000 at that time. So missing those early compounding years can create a steeper hill later, as Tim was mentioning earlier. The barrier to entry, the amount that you have to contribute of your salary and your income becomes steeper and steeper the longer you decide to wait. That's why the dollars you save early often are the heaviest lifters for you over your entire career.
Yep. That's excellent. Well done in terms of prepping that. I was going to do that in my head when we were just right here. So they're using the rule of 72.
The impressive thing is that you would be able to do that.
I was going to go back. I was like, oh, that's cool. You got to prep. That's perfect. Fundamentally, you save 1/3 as much money and you end up with, was it more money or was it about the same? 745, 742?
787 versus 745. So you come out ahead.
More money and you saved 1/3 as much. You save 3 times as much and you end up with less money. So that thought process you have of like, I'll start saving next year. That's exactly what it's going to kill you. It's going to kill your long-term rate of return. Save more now, and you might be thinking about, oh, I'm about to have a kid, or we're raising kids, and things are tight now, and I'll just save more when the kids are a little bit older. Like, no, you got to do what you can while you can. And if you happen to have higher income, or you're getting a raise or a bonus, I'm not saying live for tomorrow exclusively, but when you get a bump in your income, a bump in, whether it's a bonus or a raise, consider saving half of that for your long term, and then enjoying the other half in your lifestyle. It'll help you ratchet up your savings fairly quickly if you're getting significant enough raises. If you're not getting significant enough raises, or you don't expect that to really be a part of your future, you're going to need to work with what you've got and try to figure out how to live on 80% or less of your take home, so that you can save the extra 20% to cover your emergencies and your long-term savings.
And I feel this is also, I feel like, worth mentioning. I feel like we keep saying retirement. Retirement is different for everybody, right? It's that financial independence where you can then decide what you want to do with your time and your life at that point, because you're financially able to make those decisions. But these tools and these value adds that I hope we're giving to you right now aren't just for how do I plan for retirement. It can be for a walk of different situations in life. It can be saving for your first house. It can be just trying to create wealth. It can be trying to generate generational wealth. It can be applied to so many different scenarios where money is the driving topic, and trying to build that strong infrastructure, as we talked about, in your early 40s, so that way it's the lift is easier as you go on in your life. So it's not all just about retirement, although that is extremely important from a financial planning standpoint, but your money should align with your vision of happiness, which is what we always talk about. And if that's retirement, great. If that's something else that you want to do with your money, that's also great. So hopefully all of these ideas can benefit that as far as your situation is concerned.
Well said.
Yeah. Protect your income. So this one, disability insurance, life insurance when appropriate, risk management in general is often overlooked, right? It's not fun. It's not fun to think about those uncomfortable conversations about the what ifs and the things that can happen in life. And especially younger families focus on growing wealth without protecting the engine that's creating it. So, if something were to happen to one of you in a household, or just yourself, what does that look like for the other people that are dependent on you? And that's where protecting your income is so important. Tim, you have a great analogy for this, talking about a money printing machine in the basement, and you need to insure it. I think. Do you want to share that?
Sure. I'm happy to do that. So disability is actually 3 times more probable before you retire than death is. Now, I'm not saying you should have disability insurance instead of life insurance. You should probably have both. But let's focus on disability insurance for a moment. And a lot of employers actually take care of this for you. So if you have to opt in to getting a long-term disability insurance through your employer, make sure you've chosen to opt in. Most employers have it set up so that, larger employers, so that you automatically have it. And it's a really nice thing to protect you from. If you're self-employed and you haven't looked at this, you really should look at this. Your odds of getting disabled prior to reaching retirement age are, like I said, much greater than dying. And imagine that you had a machine in your basement that printed money. Imagine your annual income's $100,000 a year. Just keep it simple. That machine prints $100,000 a year. If that machine breaks down and you don't get $100,000 a year anymore of income coming out of that machine, you're going to be pretty disappointed. If you had a machine like that, you would probably pay to insure it. And what long-term disability insurance does is it says if you break down and you can't do your job anymore, then they'll pay $60,000 to $70,000 a year on that $100,000 a year, usually 60 to 70% of the income you were previously getting, to ensure that your family is still going to be okay, that you have enough resources coming in to cover some basic expenses. And that's what long-term disability insurance does. Life insurance is another thing, though, it's worth factoring in. If you pass away, that machine isn't just broken down, it's gone. And there's need that if you love people and you have them in your life, whether it's your spouse or your children or both, or other individuals you'd like to leave the money to, you want to make sure they're taken care of. And life insurance is a very inexpensive way to get that taken care of. There are no excuses to the low-cost life insurance and long-term disability options that are available out there. There are certainly more expensive versions of those that can do a lot of cool things for you later on, and they have their place. But there are very inexpensive versions to at least take care of the basic level of protection for both of those things. And if you haven't done that yet, definitely something you should do by the time you're 40 at the latest.
Yeah. I think for many people under the age of 40, your income is your biggest wealth building tool at that point in time, and also likely your biggest asset. If you had to look at it from an asset standpoint, your income is likely the biggest driver for your long-term success moving forward. And it's your biggest wealth building tool. A lot of people think, no, if I just invest strategically and smartly, I can get a phenomenal rate of return. I'm going to grow my wealth that way. Well, your income is the biggest driver for that stuff. So protecting it is very important. Let's make sure your estate basics are not missing. So your estate planning stuff, your last will and testament, your powers of attorney, guardianship documents if you have dependents and minors, advanced medical directives, all those basic core estate planning documents to make sure that your money goes to who you would want it to if you were no longer around, and also to make sure that people you care about are taken care of after you're no longer around to take care of them, are especially important things to have at least basically set up before age 40.
Yeah, it's one of the most neglected things. When I go through and discuss this with clients all the time and say, hey, how are you doing in your estate planning? Oh, I mean to do that. I feel bad. I feel guilty. I didn't do that yet. I kept saying I'm going to do it and I didn't do it. I hear that all the time. So, don't be one of those. Let's get it taken care of. We actually, with that in mind, we just added this service to our service offerings at a flat fee of $1,000 to help clients go through the process of creating some basic estate planning documents. We always say that an attorney's better. If you've got an attorney that you work with, that's great. They're going to do a great job, and we don't practice legal advice. We're not attorneys, but we do have an offering available that we can assist clients in creating their own basic legal documents, and we're happy to assist if that is something you want to check off the box.
Very nice. Know your benefits and use them. I think we have a lot of different benefits, especially if you're working and you have employers and you're using credit cards. There's all these different things where you can be finding value in your financial plan, and making sure that you understand what those are and using them to your advantage is extremely important and often gets missed. So I'm talking about things like your employer match. Do you have a 401k, a 403b, a 457, a 401a? These different types of employer-sponsored retirement plans where there might be an employer match on top of what you're contributing to the plan. Are you taking advantage of that? Make sure that you are. HSAs, health savings accounts. Are you eligible for those? If you are you contributing to it? If not, why not? Give a consideration. It might make sense for you in your financial plan. Don't want to miss out on something if it's good and it's there for the taking. Roth contributions versus traditional contributions.
Oh, yeah.
So how are you saving into your retirement accounts or your other investment accounts in general? Do you understand the tax implications short-term and long-term with those different contribution types? Those are some decisions that you should be thinking about at a minimum before age 40. Equity comp, if it's relevant, if you have an employer that's offering compensation in the form of equity. Many people miss value that is already available to them, is the gist of why I'm mentioning these things. Just make sure that if that low-hanging fruit's available to you, that you're harvesting and picking that fruit if it's something that you want to eat.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Imagine they used to have airline miles that expire at the end of the year kind of thing. I mean, what if you have lifetime airline mile equivalents that are just expiring and you just didn't cash them in? They're just gone. And that's things like your employer match that you could have had last year if you'd started your 401k earlier, or the tax-free income you could have had from a Roth account if you had just pivoted and said, I'm going to save this as Roth instead of pre-tax. Or the tax deduction you could have had on your tax return last year if you had said, instead of Roth, I'm going to contribute pre-tax and get a tax deduction. I mean, these are just examples of some of that expiring airline mile account stuff that you may have. And the biggest thing to focus on here is make your decisions with intention. And it's okay if you don't understand all this stuff, right? I mean, I get that. But there's so many different ways to learn more. That's why we're doing this. That's why Clear Money Talk's here, so you can keep learning things. And we hope that this is helping you understand all of the opportunities that are out there better, so that you don't miss out.
Well said. Well said. We got two more things, and for the time's sakes, we're gonna jump to both these here.
Okay.
Start investing with purpose, not just randomly. So I know for a fact that many people before age 40 have many different financial priorities battling each other. Mm-hmm. Things like maybe saving for dependents' college expenses in the future. Maybe trying to save up and buy a house. Maybe you have existing college debt that you're trying to pay off. Maybe you have consumer debt. Maybe one in the household is trying to save for retirement, the other's trying to save for a big vacation they want to go on. There's a lot of competing financial priorities before age 40, and trying to align those things and understand how your dollars are working towards all those goals is extremely important.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I have a whole lot more to say on that. That's well said, Tyler.
Thanks, man.
What he said.
Not all investing dollars are supposed to do the same job. So know where each of your dollars are going and how they're working for you short-term and long-term, and make adjustments as needed. And that brings us to the next one, is define what success actually looks like. I think Tim and I talk about this a lot. We're kind of squirrels in life. We're just trying to sock away a bunch of nuts for a rainy day.
Yeah.
And but not all the nuts are created equal. And you want to align your dollars and how you're investing and saving and doing different stuff with your money with your purpose in life. And
I like that analogy. I mean, imagine that you have like 6 trees and you're a squirrel and you've got these nuts, but if you put the nuts in this tree over here, you get a 1% rate of return in your savings account. And if you put them in this tree, then you get whatever rate of return you get in your investment portfolio. And by the way, your employer throws in some extra nuts if you have a match. And if you put them in this tree, then they grow tax deferred and everything comes out tax free. So all the nuts that it grows, everything comes out. You don't even have to pay Uncle Sam anymore. I mean, that's the difference between all these different trees. And I think your analogy is on point. So just make sure that you're saving the right amount in the first place and that you're putting it in the right trees.
Yeah. That's such a good analogy. Before age 40, it's easy to chase income. It's easy to chase status or milestones without defining what actually matters to you. And, what are you building towards? Is it freedom, optionality, time, family, flexibility? Are you building towards a pending career change or early retirement? We've recorded an episode on FIRE, financial independence, retire early. A lot of people want to retire early so that way they can enjoy their younger years earlier. And all these different things, just make sure that you are saving with intentionality behind what those goals are for you.
Well said.
I think that brings us to a good natural
we should probably do the just the answer though part. So Tyler, you always do such a good job at that with the structure that you have as far as articulating it in a tight way. So as far as the just the answer is concerned, swing away.
Here we go. Our topic of the day was, what financial moves should you make before age 40? Tim and I talked about that you don't need to have your entire financial life perfected before 40, but there are a few important moves worth making earlier. Building a cash reserve, getting rid of high interest debt, getting that under control. Start saving seriously for retirement, protecting your income with the right types of insurance. We talked about different types of insurance that exist for that. Making sure that basic estate planning documents are in place, especially if others depend on you. Just as importantly, get intentional with where your money's going and what you're actually building towards. Before 40, time is still a major advantage for you. The goal is not perfection, it's putting smart systems in place early so that way those can compound over time for you. Listen to the full episode for all the key takeaways, but I hope that just the answer scratched a lot of those itches for you. And if we also, we're gonna go into the trivia here in a second, but we also put together a checklist for all the listeners.
Oh, nice, awesome.
So
you get a deliverable.
Yeah. So if that's of interest to you, we put together a checklist of all the different things that we talked about in the long form of the episode today, to make it easy for you to go through and check each of those things off as you have either already completed it or maybe are going to get into the process of starting to complete some of those things if you're one of those listeners before age 40. Or if you're over age 42 and there's some of these things you haven't started to do yet, we're hoping that this deliverable can make it easy for you to prioritize those things for yourself.
Yeah, that's smart. Well said, Tyler. And if you want to listen to the long version of the show, I would say we just unpack a lot of the same things in that checklist, but fundamentally we provide a lot of neat analogies and education for you to better understand how they work and the details there, and we have a good time. So
it's always fun.
Hope you enjoy the long one or the short one, whichever you choose to listen to, or both for that matter.
Yeah. Tim, I know you're ready for some trivia.
Sure, hit me. What do you got?
Okay. I feel like I've hit you with some hard ones lately.
Oh, so you're gonna give me a layup?
No,
what's 2 plus 2?
Yeah,
okay,
it's
4. It's 4,
yeah.
Tyler.
Tim, I'd like you to tell me, which of these animals is born able to run within just a few hours of being born?
Whew. Well, clearly the blue whale.
Yeah.
No. Go ahead.
That would be hilarious if that was a choice.
That would be funny, wouldn't it? Okay.
Option A is elephant.
An elephant or?
Option B is a giraffe.
Giraffe.
Option C is polar bear. Option D is a kangaroo. And I'm laughing a little bit because now that I'm reading these choices out loud,
really run, do they?
it's actually more difficult than I thought.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Well, it's all right. Yeah, you got to challenge me. Well, at the end of the day, I don't think it's a kangaroo because fundamentally they don't run, they hop.
True.
So I'm going to go with between polar bear, giraffe, and elephant.
Yep.
The polar bear is primarily a predator, and so I suspect it doesn't need to run quite as quickly. I would suspect that it would be more along the lines of the prey, like the giraffe or the elephant, the babies that would need to run fairly quickly. And as much as the elephant is probably protected by the larger populace of the herd, I'm going to go with the giraffe just because I feel like they would need to get moving pretty quick if they were born.
You got it.
Oh, is that it? Oh,
yeah.
Yay! All right, nice. Got one right. It's been a long time.
A giraffe starts moving surprisingly early, which fits the episode well. The whole point is that the earlier you put key financial pieces in motion, the more stability and momentum you can build over time.
Compound interest, baby.
Boom.
Well said. Well, thank you very much for joining us and spending some of your minutes with us on Clear Money Talk. We hope you had a great time. If there are any other money questions you have, take a look at our library of all of our previous shows. All of our answers to those money questions, in many cases, are timeless and evergreen, even if it's an older show. But we're happy to continue to populate the world with this information, and we hope you've learned a lot today. So thanks for your time on Clear Money Talk, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
That's right. If you found value, please consider subscribing, and we'll look forward to seeing you on many episodes to come.
Thank you.
Tim Clairmont and Tyler Andrews are investment advisor representatives offering securities through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. The views depicted in this material are for informational purposes only and are not necessarily those of Cetera Wealth Services, LLC. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual. For a comprehensive review of your personal situation, always consult with a tax or legal advisor. Cetera Wealth Services exclusively provides investment products and services through its representatives. Although Cetera does not provide tax or legal advice or supervise tax, accounting, or legal services, Cetera representatives may offer these services through their independent outside business. This information is not intended as tax or legal advice. All investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will be successful. Examples referenced are hypothetical only and do not represent the actual performance of any particular investments. The cost and availability of life insurance depend on factors such as age, health, and the type and amount of insurance purchased. Before implementing a strategy involving life insurance, it would be prudent to make sure that you are insurable by having the policy approved. As with most financial decisions, there are expenses associated with the purchase of life insurance. Policies commonly have mortality and expense charges. In addition, if a policy is surrendered prematurely, there may be surrender charges and income tax implications. Clear Financial Partners is located at 15573 Bangi Road, Suite 100, Lake Oswego, Oregon 97035. For more information, please call us at 503-579-1000.